Hey, this is going to be episode 23 of the Norton Project. I decided I needed to get some help, or at least that it would be wise to. That may have been foolish of me. Anyway, I decided that instead of having a bike night out at Mike's place and working on his projects, that it might be nice if the boys came out here and helped me get the engine in there. Well, that was a pretty bad mistake. Adam was 3 sheets to the wind, and he dropped the engine on Mike's foot. And Mike was crying like a little girl and swearing so bad that I couldn't use the video. So anyway, that's a bunch of crap. No, Mike and Adam came out tonight. They helped me get that engine in. They were a great help. And it probably took us, I don't know, hour and a half to get all the bolts in. It's not something I do every day, although I've done it many times, and there's a easy ways and hard ways of doing it, and of course I always wind up taking the hard way. In hindsight, if I had to do it again, I'm quite sure I would have put that forward mount on the engine before I dropped the engine into the frame. But anyway, we put the engine in first. And what we wound up having to do was take the two lower bolts out of the back of the engine plates there and just tip the engine backwards so that we could get that front mount in place. Anyway, once that was all in, it was just a walk in the park. Then after that, just get all the bolts in, tighten everything up. Once the plates were all in, then we adjusted the verniers and on the isolastics and tighten up the main bolts that holds everything together. So there it is. We did some other work tonight. I also helped Mike with a gas cap on his chopper tank. He had a cap that he'd purchased that wasn't going to work on that tank. So I machined a cap that would screw into the existing threads that were in the tank. And I fastened this sort of a crown-shaped tank cap onto that. So he has this funny-looking crown-shaped gas cap, and it screws on there nice now. And anyway, we had pizza for supper and had a good time, chatted for, gosh, must have been about an hour before we even started work on this. So it was a good night. It's about 10:30 now, so I'm going to call it quits and go in and see what the boss is doing and probably get cleaned up and ready to call it a night. Just to expand on that last little clip there, I wanted to show you the issues that we had getting this in. Engine dropped in, no problem at all. We put the 3 studs right through the crankcase holes where they belong, and everything was going good. And then I tried to put the forward isolastic onto the front of the engine from the front. The trouble is that even if you jack the engine up till it hits the frame right up here on the top of the engine, you still cannot get that front isolastic unit in from the bottom side. Now, in the past, I know I've had this problem before, but I've also put these engines in sometimes with the front isolastic already in place, and maybe that's the best way to go. But anyway, what we wound up doing, and it worked a treat, was just to take the 2 studs out of those 2 bottom holes so that we could rotate the engine up and back in this position through this, just let it rock on that particular stud, so that when the engine came up and back, it was quite easy then to slip the front isolastics down into place, and then lower the whole thing back down into place. Slip the 2 other studs in there, and there she was, all done. So anyway, while I've got the camera going, I just wanted to show you a quick little clip here of another little job I've got going here for one of my neighbors here. He likes getting into some pretty unusual stuff. This is, of course, an Earl's fork, and it's going on a sidecar rig he wanted to mount a car type tire on this. As we all know or can imagine, that the tires on a sidecar just wear flat, even if you're running motorcycle tires. So what he wanted to do was fit car type tires on it, and he found a guy, I think over in France, who knew exactly what he was talking about wanting to do. So anyway, he had this nice looking Suzuki twin leading shoe hub, and he wanted to mount a car type rim on it. Anyway, this chap that he was talking to in France knew exactly what he wanted to do. So he got the rim for him, the right size rim for what he wanted to do, dimpled the rim, drilled them the right angle to take the spokes, and gave him the spokes to lace it up with. So he laced the rim to the hub himself. But now the job falls to me of getting this Suzuki hub to fit into this BMW Earl's fork setup. So what I've had to do so far, I had to machine about a 1mm thick spacer to go in the hole where the axle passes through here. And on the other side, there's a stainless steel sleeve that's machined over the Suzuki axle to make that just large enough to fit in between the pinch bolts on that side. Now, the thing is, there's not an awful lot of room, as you can see here, between the swing arm and that rim. And I'm a little bit concerned about the tire he's going to put in there. I was actually talking about that to him today, saying, well, I hope you're going to get a tire that's not going to stick out much past your rim, because I said that could create a problem, you know, with the tire actually fitting in between the swing arm on those Earl forks. Anyway, he said he's got a tire that he's quite sure isn't much wider than the actual rim here, so it may not be a problem. But now what I have to do is create some spacers to go between that Suzuki hub and this BMW swing arm on these Earl forks. And when I get to the drum side of this brake, I'm going to have to machine, get it out, machine a bit off this section here so that it will fit in between those forks properly. And anyway, so I'll have to take all the stuff, brake shoes and all this hydraulic brake stuff off of here. So anyway, it's been a long-term project for him, and this will make it one step closer, you know, to being on the road. So anyway, I just thought I'd show that little oddball project to you. It's something that you don't see every day. Anyway, there we go. Just FYI for that little job I was doing for that friend of mine. I've got the that car rim and Suzuki hub into the Earl's forks there. So anyway, he can proceed with that and get that machine together. So that's all set to go. Anyway, back to the Norton. I'm going to start fitting the back fender. I know it doesn't seem like much, it's just a back fender, it should bolt on, but they've got something different going on there, right on the back of that battery tray where the, excuse my fingers, where the battery tray goes through. And if you look at the old fender, where are we? There we go. Ta-da! There's a bit of a mess there. So I've got to find out what's supposed to be there before I proceed any further. Anyway, that's why I haven't put the transmission in there yet. It makes it so much easier, you know, to get my hands in here if there's no transmission in the way. So yeah, I'm going to get that back fender up there and mounted. So let's carry on with that. Okay, there we go. I got that fender tail light on there. Anyway, one would think this would be about a half an hour's job, but no way. So far, I think I've got about 4 hours into this. Everything I did fought me along the way. I think I mentioned before that that's the original fender mount. There would have been one bolt through the bottom of those double plates there. That gives it a bit of flexibility. And these bolts would fasten into the back of the battery tray. But this is not an original type fender. The earlier fenders had a, I guess you might call it a dent right here so that you could get your tire pump in between these two little spots. And that's an easy way to identify whether you've got the earlier type fender or the later one. Anyway, let me think now. What else was missing? Oh yeah, I was missing this bracket here. So luckily I have the other Norton that I can look at and see what I needed to make for a bracket to hold this part of the fender. So anyway, that took me quite a long while to get that bent up and shaped just right to go in there, you know, between the shock studs and the frame and that. And of course I painted it, so then it had to hang up overnight. But anyway, then when I got all this in there, there's another little bracket in under this fairing that goes in underneath, and of course then the fairing goes on over the top of it. And there's two little bolts in this part of the fairing that hold it on, and of course they were missing. They weren't there because they were just relying on this section that somebody made up to hold back the tail light, and that's great. I mean, it looks a lot like the original one would have anyway, but in any case, at least I think it looks like the original one would have looked like. But I like what they've got here for a license plate bracket, so I reused that. I had to make up these little angled aluminum standoff pieces to connect to the bottom of the fender. And of course, as luck would have it, after I got all this together, you know, and I'm playing with the seat. Now, there's a little pin that goes through the nut there that keeps it from falling off should it go loose while you're riding it. See, this is what clamps the seat actually into place. So I'm over here playing with this one, which I had not unscrewed very far, and it fell right off. Well, the pin isn't in there, and I thought it was broken off at first, but on closer inspection, I saw that this is actually cut off with a hacksaw. So I'm going to have to take that stud right out of there again, so I can measure it up and machine up a new one for it. A lot of people would say, well, Bruce, why don't you just go buy a new one? Well, there's a couple of reasons. I don't want to wait 2 weeks for a new one to show up, and I don't want the expense of a new one, even though they're probably not that much. But I like to do stuff like this in the lathe. You can't buy bragging rights. And that's one thing. If you're making parts for your bike, well, you can brag about that if you want to brag. But anyway, so before I can call that back fender job complete, I have to make a new stud to hold that seat nut on there. So anyway, it's coming. I sure hope the front fender doesn't give me this much trouble. Well, there we go. I know you can't really see it, but that's a brand new stud. I used a grade 8 3/8 inch bolt for that, so good hard steel in it. It's got the little groove in this end for that pin to set in, so if this nut does come loose, it can't just fall off. So when I screw that up, that'll hold the seat on, and if it happens to unscrew while I'm driving it, it won't just fall off, just like the other side there. So, okay, I have to confess that I still wasn't happy with the way the front of this fender was sitting, so I wound up taking these two bolts out of here, the two nuts off on the inside of the fender here, And I took the wheel out so I could get at it. I don't know if you can see it or not. And anyway, what I did was kind of make a T-slot in those old oblong holes there. And I know there's better ways of doing it. Probably somebody could tell me a different idea. But anyway, what it did was it moved that fender away from the chain guard, so that so I got about, I guess, about 5/16 of an inch of clearance there now. So I'm a lot happier with the way that that fender fits on there, and it's not straining trying to push the fender over toward that side. It's nice and happy where it is. So if it's happy, even though it's all full of fingerprints right now, well, I'm happy too. So anyway, wheels back in. Fender's on. Hopefully I won't have to take that off again. But before I call it quits on this little video, I'm going to start getting ready to mount that front fender on there. Okay, front fender. This is a little bit different than the earlier ones were. A little bit narrower because these bikes used a 325 front tire instead of the 410 by 8 by 19, which is also on the back. So the later ones had the 410s on both places. That's the little fender bracket that goes in the middle there. It's supposed to be riveted on. Bloody well not using pop rivets. I need to get some proper rivets, and rather than drive to town to buy them, I'll probably just spin the old lathe up and make 6 of them to put in there. There's the struts all ready to go. So anyway, I held this up in place and all the holes line up with the holes in the fender. So that's a good sign. Starting off right. Anyway, let's see what happens. All right. Those are the 6 little rivets I made up in the lathe. Heads are all pounded over. I had 4 holes that were a little bit oversized, so I just put washers there, and so that would take up the space for that. Anyway, they look good, so I'm ready to try to see if this will fit on that front wheel or not. Well, how about that? Now, if you didn't count me having to make up those 6 little rivets here, mounting that front fender took about a half an hour, so that's about what mounting something like this should take. You know, it shouldn't be any more complicated than that. I found some nice looking little stainless steel screws to use in the stays in the front and the back, so that looks good. Stainless steel bolts holding the struts into the forks there. So yeah, okay, that's about it for the fenders. Okay, this last little clip will just wrap this video up. Just wanted to show you what goes in here on these little hooks and pegs that go in here by the fender. And there we have a nice little chrome air pump. So theoretically, if you have a tire patching kit and the tools to get your wheels off, you know, you could actually patch a tire and carry on from there. Anyhow, that's something for a different day. Anyhow, I'm going to wrap this little video up. I just wanted to give a shout out to my old buddy Adam Burton there on ECRN Garage. He does a lot of pretty neat stuff on his channel there, and to Gus Cameron on his channel, which is called This Old Chopper, TOC. So anyway, yeah, check those guys out. You see some pretty neat stuff going on. So thanks for watching. I'll keep you posted with the next video. That will be, I think, number 24 of the Norton Project video here. I don't really know what I'm going to do next, but you'll find out when I do it. So again, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want. I'll see you next time.